I'm also a member of the Livermore, a very proud member of Livermore Noon Rotary. So with that, and we need to pick up our food. We get a half of a. Are you taping me? We get a half of a Togo sandwich. This is pretty good. I'm Italian. I like to eat. Okay, so I'm going to use my former teacher voice, and also along the lines when I'm presenting. Feel free to answer a question or to ask a question as we go along. Just raise your hand or just call out. That doesn't bother me because I would like the engagement. So it's not necessarily to talk at you, but to talk and share with you. So we're just going to look ahead. I'm going to start with a little brief history about Three Valleys. How many people have heard of Three Valleys already? Kind of. Some of you are more affiliated. And then where we are now, a lot of things going on. And then we're going to look ahead to see where we're going. So, and if anyone later says, well, what's about Three Valleys? If you just remember 3 words, give, grant, and grow. That's a really easy tagline. And the other one is give where you live. So those, if you remember those things, that will get people's understanding of what's happening. So community foundations are actually part of a larger network that is nationwide, and we are one of the newer ones. So probably you've heard of Silicon Valley Community Foundation. That's the biggest in the nation so far as the assets that are managed. But the difference between a community foundation and other nonprofits are that nonprofits in general have one cause. They work toward foster youth, or they support breast cancer, or something like that. And what happens with the community foundation is they're place-based, they're geographic-based, and so we support whatever surfaces in the community. So if we were in Maui when there were fires, we would have been supporting that. And we still supported it from far away with some of our donors, but we look to what's happening in the community, and then we can pivot quickly, and we support the values and the issues and the challenges of any particular community. So we're centered in the Three Valleys area, the Tri-Valley area, but we also go beyond because needs go beyond. We'll go on. And so we began in 2020, as was mentioned, so they had some visioning going on, and that was before I came on board. And the reason why this foundation was started is there is an East Bay Community Foundation, which covers this area, but it's a large territory. And a lot of their focus, and rightly so, ends up on the challenges that are faced in kind of the urban core. So Oakland, Richmond, Hayward, Albany, those areas end up taking a lot of the time and attention. And so often in the Tri-Valley, what happens is things are not addressed. And so this was a unique way to look at some of the needs here. And there was $42 billion in GDP at that time. Now it's up to $49 billion in this area, and less than 0.5% is coming back in through investment in the Tri-Valley through the nonprofits. Now Rotary is doing its part, but a lot of people give, and they give rightly so to other areas, but it is a different way of looking at things through a lens of let's make sure that we take care of things that are happening here. So again, it's give where you live. We'll go on. So it was also started by Innovation Tri-Valley. How many of you have heard of Innovation Tri-Valley? Okay, so well, of course, me. And so I was part of that when I was superintendent, and I was on their leadership team, but I was running the youth part, which is youth looking forward to the 2040. In this role, I didn't even know what was going on really with the Vision 2040 about a philanthropic group that was focused with private partnerships. And part of that idea is to bring in funds that are untapped from the corporations that are possibly located here, or their client base is here, their workers live here, and to make sure that we're leveraging all of those funds and investing them back into the community. So that was part of the 2040 vision, and we are actually, I think that was the first one that they actually accomplished, because they have a huge vision for 2040. It takes a long time. The establishment of Three Valleys was part of that. So this is our board, and if you look, you probably, a lot of you, I know some of you came up, you already know John Sensiba, Christine Wente, there are a lot of people that you will recognize, incredible people that are part of it. They're representing different parts of our geographic area, all the way from Sunol to Alamo. They also have a wide range of community connections and leadership experience. So the way that I found out about Three Valleys, the reason I was actually at my Rotary Club meeting. I was the superintendent in 2022 still, and I knew I was going to retire, and no one else knew, except my husband, not even my kids and my mom, because we were getting ready with a big parcel tax, and I didn't want anyone to, to be worried about what their leadership was doing while we were going through this. And so I knew it. I was sitting there. I listened to John Sensiba and Susan Houghton talk about Three Valleys, and I recalled that when I was superintendent and we had gone through COVID challenges, that as a superintendent, I personally chaired and oversaw and worked with the city in partnership with the parks. We did 31 days of vaccination clinics. We ran them on our own because our families couldn't get to the Coliseum. They weren't going to go places. Some of them didn't have all the documentation, and so we wanted kids back in school, and many Dublin folks came. In fact, your mayor came to our clinic, and Supervisor Halbert. We ran these clinics with pharmacies. We brought them in, and later I said, well, what did the other communities do? And a lot of people said their community foundations ran. And so I said, oh, but that's what we need. So when I heard them speak at Rotary, I went home that night and I told my husband, let's donate to this foundation and be a founding champion. So we went online, we're donating our money. My husband was behind me looking over, he's, look, they're looking for a CEO. Maybe you should throw your hat in the ring. So I made some calls to Tim Sabrante, I'm sure you all know him, former mayor, part of the college. And I said, is this job already like slated for someone? Is it whatever, because I'm secretly gonna retire. And I might want to put my name in, but I don't want to go through it if it's already that. And they said, no, Nelson Fialo is doing a great job, but he's an interim. It's wide open. I mean, there's a search process. So I always want to share with people as I came for the cause, but I stayed for the job. So I went through that and then ended up with a job, and it's been just a wonderful transition phase. But I retired on August 1st, 2022, and on August 8th, 2022, I took this job. So I had a whole week there, but it's been great. So we'll go up. And so this is just us in action. You know, we do a lot, and because I have a school background, I take my board on field trips. I want them to see what's happening, what the nonprofits are doing, and how we can support them. So our vision is very intentional, a community where everyone has the opportunity to live a full and rewarding life. And when you live in the Tri-Valley, there are impressions that are sometimes wrong. People think, oh, everyone's affluent there. Oh, they're just living the great life. Oh, there's all the vineyards. But I know from being superintendent, yes, we have beautiful vineyard homes and families and wineries, but we also have migrant families struggling who are here for education and for better lives, but they're always going to have challenges. We also have families who are just on the edge of economic challenge, and so they're barely making it. And yet they're in the midst of affluence, and that culture of comparison makes them sometimes feel less than. And so our job is to fill those gaps and to surface that there are issues. And they might manifest differently. They might not be as glaring as in some of the other cities in our county, but they also don't have as many rich resources in the access. So we have to do it, just like we heard today that the Dublin School District is doing with Rotary. You're bringing those resources to families that just need a little help so that they can continue. And our values are integrity and transparency. That's kind of why I'm here. Part of my job is to tell you what we're doing. Equity, inclusiveness is not just a catchphrase. We actually intentionally make sure that our board is diverse and that the groups we support are representing a lot of different people who have challenges. And then collaboration, innovation. So we want to do things differently sometimes, and then we know we can't do it alone. So collaborations. And collaboration, if you take that word, it's co-labor. So we're working hard together. This just came from a board survey I did, just so you know, we did a little Wordle, and these are the things that came out from 5 boards. And it's kind of fun to do. You guys could do it in Rotary. Everyone just put a few words, you throw it up there, and you can see community, the heart of the community really came through. We'll go on. So early support, I have to thank Linda and her team and the City of Dublin. So in the beginning, it was a vision before I came along, and they were literally had to have some startup funding just to get going. And so Dublin, I think, led the way, the City of Dublin, and came forward with the first seed money to help get the infrastructure going and the 501c3 and all of those things. So that was incredible. So let's hear it for the City of Dublin. Because once the City of Dublin led the way, then Pleasanton jumped on board, and then a little bit later, Livermore came along when I was in. So this is just a little bit of a history, but we haven't been here that long, and we're already making a lot of things happen. But we have big plans for the future, too. So one of the very first, and I think Linda probably is in this photo, so one of my first roles was to give money. We had and you're probably very familiar, Deputy Audrey Phillips lost her life in the line of duty here in Dublin. And I'm the daughter of a police officer from Oakland PD. He's now passed, but I understand the sacrifice of a family. And in this case, she lost her life from a medical challenge. And then her husband, the surviving Josh Phillips, was also deputy with 3 young children. So a lot of families wanted to give. They weren't sure about GoFundMe. What do? They can't just show up at the police department with money. And so we were able to stand up a fund overnight with no admin fees. and take in funds, and then we can only give to a nonprofit. We can't give to a family directly, but it was given to the Sheriff's Foundation, and then they were able to distribute the funds to help with childcare. Because you know, when you have two parents working, they can work different shifts and cover that, and suddenly now you have a solo father with 3 children. So we were able to do that to kind of garner those resources. Then this is another grant we gave out. It was Dublin focused, and so some of you will recall that there were some women who were incarcerated in the Dublin facility that had faced severe trauma and from their experiences there and from certain employees there. And so we had an applicant for a grant through our impact grants, community impact grant, who was helping the women that had been traumatized. Now since then they've been dispersed to all kinds of different facilities across the nation, but they're still getting now support to help with their legal challenges or their mental and emotional long-term trauma. So that was something we were also able to do. And then a lot of our funds, because it is Tri-Valley, it's not only Dublin, it's not only Pleasanton. Some of our grants go to help the entire Tri-Valley. So a lot of certain nonprofits, so Goodness Village is located in Livermore, but the unhoused and unsheltered people come from all over the Tri-Valley. Same as Tri-Valley Haven, that's where they're nested, but you have families who are victim of domestic violence that they are housed there. Alan Hugh Foundation is a foundation that helps young people so that they can cope with mental health and stress and not end up feeling suicidal or taking their lives. Tina Steam is in all the schools, and we've supported them with a lot of funding. Z-Cares is also helping with mental health, and Sunflower Hill, I think there's a new one coming here, a new facility. That's for adults with IDD, so individuals with disabilities will be in those. So these are just some of the examples of the special populations. Last year our focus was mental health and wellness, so we had funding that we gave out. And then we also work with corporations. So PG&E has a corporate managed partnership. We manage their funding. So I apply for the grants on behalf, because a lot of the nonprofits, they don't have time to write grants. I used to be a grant writer. So I can apply on their behalf. We keep the funds for them, and then we disperse it as PG&E wants to. So we did health equity, and these were not located in the Tri-Valley, but they certainly serve special populations in the Tri-Valley, as well as in Alameda County. So Agent Health, Access, La Clinica. Actually, Access is nested here, and the Native American Health Center. So we're able to disperse those funds. We build our communities, again, the Give Grant Grow. So in the beginning, this is our last year's report, and you have a copy here. 2023, we'll be getting ready as we clear 2024, we'll have our new report. But in the beginning, we had 16 grant co-funders. So what happened is we had a certain amount of money to give out from our corporate challenge, and we had more deserving applications. So I went to all of our funders, the people who have donor advised funds with us, and said, can we fill this gap? And within 2 days, they filled the gap so that we could give out more money. And so we also had 28 corporate contributors and 77 founding champions. So that was what I did in the very beginning when my husband and I donated. For $500, we became founding champions. And so that first year, and a little bit of, maybe a few months, we brought in $2.2 million, and that was 800 donors, and we are now in leaps and bounds growing. So then okay, we give and we grant, and so the first year of grants that we reported on after I was here, we did the corporate challenge, we did fiscal sponsorships, field of interest, and donor advice. Does everyone know what donor advice fund is? So if you've heard of like Charity or Schwab or Fidelity, those groups, what people do is they donate their funding and they put it into a donor advised fund. So they get the tax write-off that day. They're done. And then they direct the funds where they go. And we invest them on their behalf. So we invest the funds so we can grow the corpus. Some of them are endowed so they can continue to give more. They direct the money and they have influence over where it goes, but it's not their money anymore. We manage it, and then we get it out to the nonprofits. So we vet the nonprofits, we have a nonprofit directory, and we also help, I'm kind of like a matchmaker. So I get a donor and they have means and they have money and they put it in this fund, and then it's sitting there, and so I will say to them, here, what do you care about? And if they care about education, they care about the arts, they care about animal welfare. They say, okay, here's some nonprofits. Sometimes we bring them to a little In Your Backyard series and they meet some of the nonprofits. Sometimes I do it by just sharing the story or the data. Sometimes we take them on a field trip, but whatever, we make those causes surface. And we have one donor, our largest donor advised fund is someone, they're up at about, I think they just put another 170,000 in. That was funny. They said, I'm just going to write a little check. I said, okay. And that's relative, right? So I go to pick up a little check, and it's 170,000. I'm looking at the zeros, and I say, okay, that's great. So that person has already, they're at about $1.7 million now with us. And what they do is they have already earmarked forever certain portions of their money, and we've invested in it's grown, to go to all of these nonprofits every year. So this percent goes here, 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 and they have a little grid. Every year we update it. But I actually convinced them to use some for something that could just surface they didn't think about. Now this particular person, a lot of it goes to the Pleasanton Rotary. So that's just something to think about. As we get more established in Dublin and people are more aware, if they have a fund here, they could be giving to your Rotary, because you're definitely a worthy nonprofit. So we give a grant. This was last year's our big event. We had it at Las Positas College. It's our State of Giving, and this year we'll be having it at the Roundhouse at Bishop Ranch, and it'll be in March. But these were all of the community impact grantees that we gave to, and many of them did support mental health and wellness in our tribe. And then we also have the youth focus. I think I've seen that one before. I might have accidentally put that in twice. I apologize. So we'll go on. So we have a foundation directory that we've looked up, and this is again the statistics. When you say, why do we have a community foundation? There is money that's on the table that is not going out, and it's not going local. And we're not saying you can't give back to the home country. That we're not saying you can't give to your alma mater in their state. What we're saying is there are also a lack of awareness and understanding that when you're investing right here, you will actually see the impact of what you're doing. And this is just another statistic, but you can see Dublin is in here. And so these are how many nonprofits were active in 2022, and we'll update it for our new report. But you can see there are a number of them, and again, many of them are very shoestring budgets. So if we can take off, if they have to spend all their time fundraising, then they can't get to the mission, right? So if we can take the fundraising part off, and we don't fundraise through galas and things like that, we go to investors and corporations and people who already have a donor advised fund and push that. So these were some of the funds in Pleasanton. The We Are Pleasanton Fund, that was for the high school. We ended up with $250,000 that we gave to do improvements at the high school before they passed their bond. And that was a group of people that just came to us and said, we want to fundraise, but we don't want to start our own nonprofit. So we did that for them. Pleasanton Weekly, we did 2 years in a row, and now they're their own nonprofit. So they kind of, we helped them along. And then we did, this was kind of a special one, and I think I get accused sometimes that because of my school background, all roads lead to youth. But, so this was a group of people from Amador High School. They had gone to school and graduated in the 1950s. And they wanted to capture their stories while they were still around to tell them. So they wrote a book, and then they were going to make money from it, and they didn't need the money. So I met with them and said, why don't we have it go toward the future storytellers, toward the Amador Valley Journalism Program. So last year we gave them $10,000, and then we have another grant coming this year. So that's just how things start. People just have a cause, they want to make it happen, and we can help do that. And then Sunol, this was one of the emergency causes. After the flooding last year, Sunol was hit really hard. The little school was hit. Their garden was destroyed, their play yard, and it's just a little K-8. So we were able, in this case, I didn't have a donor, so I wrote a grant, brought in $25,000, and then we gave it to them. So, and we had a nice little thank you, just like you guys had. It was a kid one. Those are my favorite. This one was local. This is right here in Dublin. Look who's there.
Yeah, that's us.
So we were able to partner with AccuSplit. They invented Ron Sutton and his group. He's one of our DAF holders, our donor advised fund holders, and they invented the stopwatch. And so we were able to work with them, and they gave health and fitness kits. They started off saying we want to do it in Pleasanton because that's where he's located. And I said you can only do it if it's for Tri-Valley. So we did it for all schools of the Tri-Valley, and we added Castro Valley. So that was nice. They received health and fitness kits. It's so cute to see them.
Yeah.
Lots of info later.
I had no idea we were going to be part of
Okay,
it.
next. And then these are some other ones we did. We have the donor advised funds where we have people doing generational giving. So they're teaching their children, they're cultivating the next generation of philanthropists. And so that's really exciting. Amador Valley, we had, I guess he's the CFO of DoorDash. And he called me one day and said, I want to start a scholarship. I can't give money away. I'm like, let me help you. You're going to start scholarships? Yes, we can do that. So it was our first scholarship. Jeanette is my assistant here. You can say hi, Jeanette. And she helped do that because we hadn't done one before, but we had the background. And so now we gave our first scholarship last year, $10,000 to a deserving young man, and we'll be giving another one this year. And then how many of you realize that journalism is kind of being threatened, local journalism? So the hedge funds have taken over, and it's kind of going by the wayside, and even the Embarcadero Media, which does the Pleasant Weekly and those, it has had to become a nonprofit just to survive. So we started a fund called Partners for Local Press, and we're part of a larger movement called Press Forward to keep voices of the community alive and to make sure that there is a democratic way, because there's a lot of fake news and AI and who knows, right? So one thing I will tell you, I talked to Gina this morning before I came, Gina Chanel. We had a special event. It was a documentary. It was called Strip for Parts, American Journalism at the Brink. And Steve Glazier came, Tim Hunt came, and it was a really well attended, and the filmmaker himself came. But more importantly, one of the things we like to do with the funding, we're getting donations in all the time, is Dublin doesn't have a dedicated reporter. I don't know if you know that. You don't have your own news source right now. So if we continue to get funds, then what we would like to do is support either a part-time or full-time reporter that can focus on the Dublin news and bring that to light. And current initiatives, let's see what we got going. Okay, so really this is just our overall focus is either local foundation giving new funds, which we started one just this morning, and then meaningful grants. We don't just give money willy-nilly. We want it to be meaningful and impactful. So now we are past the founding champions because we're founded. Our new sustainability funding is you can become a sustainability circle member. So people who give $500 and more going forward become part of our sustainability circle. And that would be on an annual basis to either match that or to continue. And that helps keep just we're very lean infrastructure. We have no full-time employees, we have no benefits or anything like that, but we have a lot of it's passion. But we do have to have some funding, to do the website and to make sure we have audits and that everything's on the up and up. So that's where the sustainability circle is. So you can donate to Three Valleys, but that's just to keep the infrastructure going so that we can invest in the nonprofits. And our new challenge this year, we expanded beyond mental health and wellness to environmental health and wellness because we have a donor that really cares about that, and also to health equity and access. So we'll be giving out money in March for that, and we are still looking for corporate donors to join that challenge. So we'll see the next one. John Muir and Stanford stepped forward, and so this is a new concept. A lot of times you think of John Muir and Stanford, they're competing, right? But no, they're not actually in this case, because we want everyone to join together and collaborate in order to give. So John Muir started the challenge, and then Stanford had to match it, and we're working on Kaiser and Sutter. And then Poppy Bank, we have Hacienda, Poppy Bank, Heritage, and Fremont Bank also giving, and so that's kind of exciting. They're all saying, you know what, we want to be part of our community, we want to give back. So these are some of the needs. We look at the needs assessment, we got to look at data, we have to know what the needs are. These needs were glaring in all of the health and needs assessments, and so we can't fix everything, but that's where we guide our grant making based on data. But I always remind people behind every data point is a person, a human. Right? It's not just numbers. These are people who are impacted. Okay? So right now we are doing our impact grant making. We have over 45 applications in the queue, and we have a deadline of next week. So, and it's not too late to apply, but that's only for TriBack, for our community health impact. And then we'll go on from that. Then we have our opioid settlement. So this is a big thing. You have a whole bunch of data on that. The opioid settlement grants, we're running a $3 million grant project that will be going out only to Alameda County. And these are nonprofits that will help with the opioid crisis and the fentanyl crisis. And if you don't think it's here, then you need to say, read this, and you will see that it is. Because it's not that people are just addicted to opioids. It's also that fentanyl is masked in other drugs that people take. So we had a young person just recently at UC Berkeley, which is where I went to school, go Bears, and he thought he was going to stay up all night to study, and he took some friend's Adderall, and it was really fake fentanyl. and he lost his life. So it's really that people are really facing this crisis in different ways. And I personally lost a family member to the opioid crisis, who was an incredibly wonderful person, but had a back injury, and it was at the time when people were just giving out Norco and Oxy or Hydrocodone, whatever they gave, I don't know, and ended up losing life later. So those types of things are real. They don't just affect the person, they affect our society, they affect the family, they affect everyone. So this is a passion project. We will be giving out $3 million in March to wonderful nonprofits that are going to help with this. And that's the epidemic. So we'll go on from that. I know I'm on time. So we also have a professional advisors network. We're trying to teach people how to use their money thoughtfully, how to spend it, how to invest it, how to make sure that all your money doesn't go to taxes and that it can go to do good. And so we have a professional advisors network that works with ultra high net wealth people, as well as everybody in between. And this is made up of accountants, CPAs, bankers, insurance folks, and wealth advisors. And they're teaching us and helping our board understand all the nuances of philanthropy so that we can be the best we can. And we have webinars will be ongoing. We had our first end of year giving guide webinar, and they're all taped and online. So if you want to learn more about being a philanthropist, you can start at any stage. This is really fun. This is with Alamo. We do a giving circle. Every family is asked to give $1,000, and it's an equal playing field. Even if you can give more, you're not allowed to. You give $1,000 so that everyone gets a say. They pick 3 nonprofits through a process they go through. They give one of them $100,000, and then 2 of them $25,000. So these are the causes they chose, and they're going to be featured on our podcast that's coming up. This is another, so since we don't do our own fundraisers, what happens is other people will pick us as their cause. So there's 2 different golf tournaments that were happening, NARI and the McGriff, and they were looking for a cause, and they said, well, if you give to the community foundation, then really you're hitting a bunch of causes. Because just like Rotary, you hit a bunch of people. So they did 2 golf tournaments, and then the funding, the proceeds, one is about $20,000, the other was about $4,000, so different amounts, but either way, that fund then goes into the grant making. And we also give, we usually don't give directly, but we are the conduit for community foundations when there are crises elsewhere. So we made sure that everyone here who did care about what was going on with hurricanes, that they could give. And, okay, quickly, and get to the end of the time. Okay, we'll go ahead. I talked about all these funds, so we'll keep going. So these are our newest ones that I would be remiss if I didn't mention. This is brand new Dublin Education Alliance. So we are the fiscal sponsor. They're working on their own nonprofit status, but in the meantime, we are their fiscal sponsor. So we are using our 501c3 status, and we are handling their funding and giving the tax write-offs. There is actually something here. So they're working to support Dublin Unified School District and the children of that district. They work in tandem with, they're not in place of DPI. Everybody, there's more need than any one group can handle. So we're all focused on that. So that's an exciting new fund. Just this morning, they gave out $5,000 to shop for a cop because we had donors wanting to not shop for a cop, shop with a cop. So that was kind of fun. And then all these other ones, we have a new arts fund, we have a Sonoma one, and Innovation Tri-Valley. And we have a podcast. I'm hoping someone here from Dublin Rotary will want to be on our podcast. We haven't released it yet. We're still recording episodes. And I think we talked about the revise. So that's probably what you can go past that. So basically, in the end, it's a power of 3. It's the Tri-Valley, it's transparency, and it's trust, and then we add transformation. We'll go to the next slide. Instead of a transaction, a lot of philanthropy is give money and hand it out. We actually want transformational change, because when we're all working together, we can do that. And this is the special event where we're going to give out over $3 million to nonprofits, and everyone's invited. So that's it. That's all I have.
Wow. Right. Well, does anybody have any questions for Dr. Bowers?
Yes.
Thank you. How you come up with the name? What the Tri-Valley you understand? And there's Amador, and there's Livermore, and Centermore.
Yeah. So the valleys are actually the Livermore Valley, the San Remo Valley, and the Amador Valley. So those are the valleys. And there was at one time, and we wanted to make sure people a lot of times think of Tri-Valley, think of the Tri-Cities, they think of Livermore, Dublin, Pleasant.
I see.
We want to include Sunol all the way to Alamo and everything. And then we can now go beyond. But I will tell you, Castro Valley is really lobbying to be 4 valleys. So we've been meeting with Castro Valley, about setting up a fund with them. And so we have I think the head of NVIDIA lives in Castro Valley. And we would like to tap into those funds in order to help Castro Valley thrive.
Any other questions for Dr. Bowers? If there are no questions, I want to thank you
Of course,
for coming and for letting everybody know the fantastic work that you guys are doing in such a short period of time. And one of the things that we do here at Dublin Rotary is we make a donation. So we will be sending over a check for $100 and thanking you for coming out and presenting to us today. So.
Well, that will go to good cause, I guarantee. If you sign up for our newsletter, then also we have little seed packets so you can continue to give and really grow if you have a green thumb. And you also are welcome to have an honorary pin and a card because I'm only just a phone call or a text or email away. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for coming to today's meeting.